Prioritization. Love it or hate it, it's a skill we all need to learn. If you're new here, hi, my name's Denise, and welcome to Color Me Well, a channel where mental health and diversity conversations collide. Today, Jaclyn and I are going to take a look at how we developed our organizational skills, specifically because we both went to a high school that had an individual learning model. So we'll walk you through the format of that school, the pros and cons for us, and our personal experiences going through that model. This will be part one of our two-part episode on prioritization. So hope you can sit back, relax, and enjoy today's chat.
Welcome back to Color Me Well. My name is Jaclyn.
And I'm Denise.
And on today's episode, I wanted us to discuss this topic that it's something that I had struggled with originally, and this is around prioritization, to-do lists, and perfectionism, and just how all the above has really affected my day-to-day, my mental health. When the world was open, it was really, really difficult sometimes for me to be able to balance everything. And when I say everything, I mean, friendships, relationships, school when school was there, and then also work. And I always kind of felt like I was juggling all these different things at once, and sometimes just feeling super guilty if I couldn't really get all of those things done, or I felt like I was letting people down if I wasn't committing myself to them. I don't know about you, Denise, but how has this certain topic affected you, either presently or before?
It's definitely a topic that for me is very applicable as well, because there was a period in my life where I did not know how to balance my work time versus my personal time. And I found myself incredibly deflated at the end of the day because I just didn't have, or I felt like I never had enough time to myself. So this is also for me a constant and a current struggle that I'm also working on. So I'm very excited for us to, dive into this topic.
Yeah, I definitely echo the same feeling of not having enough time in a day. I feel like that was my mindset for a while. And I'm just going to take this back to when Denise and I attended high school, because we went to a very, very interesting high school. And when I say interesting, it was because it was independent learning. So the high school was basically that each course had 18 units, and every 2 weeks a unit was due. They gave us an agenda to plan out how to tackle those courses. So you would basically list out for each period which class you were going to attend. But when you go to those classes, you're sitting there with all these other students of all different grades, and there is one teacher sitting there as well. And if you need to consult with that teacher, you can. If not, that is like your independent private learning moment where you're just sitting there working on your unit, whatever your decision was, but it was your learning plan. So you were expected to complete that unit every 2 weeks up until you finish the 18 units per course. However, it didn't mean necessarily that that unit was due. So in the end, it was easy for you to fall behind. It was also easy for someone to get into that space or area of like trying to catch up all the time. And that was really difficult, at least for me. I definitely did not thrive very well in the first 4 years. It was very hard for me because, you have so much freedom and you're walking around, in between classes, you get to see all of your friends, you get to meet different types of people. I just was really enjoying being a teenager, and I felt like, I don't know, it just felt like it was this giant leap from going from elementary school into this new type of learning, which I was told was going to prepare me for university, but I just wanted to enjoy, being sociable. So in the end, a lot of my planning would go into these agendas, but I wouldn't stick to my plan. And eventually I would fall behind, and a lot of my work would carry on into the evening. But eventually I got it together in my 5th year. um, which is okay. Like everybody, I feel like a lot of people usually will do that victory lap, as we say, and it actually really helped me to rethink and really focus my mindset on how to better prioritize my workload versus also prioritizing my social life, which in turn did prepare me for university. But how was this type of learning structure for you, Denise? How did you find it?
So it was actually really interesting for me to go into this type of individual learning format in high school. When I came to Canada, I came in by grade 11, so I was already halfway done, or I didn't have all 4 years of high school to complete in Canada. And the other interesting part is in the Philippines, I actually went to the same school from preschool until grade 10. So we had these private schools that would have multi levels of schooling. So I was very used to a certain method of learning there because that's what I had growing up. And so when I came to Canada, not only was it a shift in culture, it was also, and I went to our high school. It really took me back. It took me aback because I didn't necessarily have freedom back then to schedule out my days. My days were pretty much scheduled out for me. And interestingly enough, the concept of an agenda that we had in our high school already existed for me in the Philippines, because the structure there, we actually had an agenda, I think, ever since grade 1, starting from grade 1. So that concept of writing down my to-do lists for the evening and my homework and my assignment, that wasn't new to me, but the freedom of finally owning my day, that was a shock. And I think a lot of us that went to that high school that took that for granted. There was also that sense of accountability that, yes, you have freedom in your day, and you can schedule it however you want to do your units. However, someone is checking in. And if you don't do your work, you will be behind, and you will end up missing out on your summer because you're going to have to go, but still continue going to school to catch up. So it was a very interesting dynamic for me that I think uh, really prepared a lot of us for university. But did it make us feel good that we were behind and catching up all the time? I definitely think that wasn't a great feeling for the duration of being there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I also felt like a lot of it was me trying to figure out what my organizational style was. So it was very much like you were kind of walking through it, just trying to feel your way around to it. But yes, I do agree that when we got to university, I did feel a bit more prepared. It was still tough, but I was able to manage a lot of my courses much better because I had already been through the ringer with this one, this high school. I think another aspect of it was, it's like you were saying before, whether or not this process made us feel good. And definitely for me, I can resonate with that as well, because for me, perfectionism was such a huge thing. I'm slowly starting to let go of what that is now. But at the time, I was really so focused on trying to balance all of these different parts of my life. You know, you're trying on one hand to complete all of these units to make your TA happy, but to also complete your years at high school, and you're also trying to socialize with your friends and not leave them hanging if they wanted to walk the halls to talk about, you know, something that was going on in their life, because you have the freedom to do so. So what's the excuse? And then also, you know, you have your parents also asking, you know, why aren't you doing your homework? What's happening? What's going on? Because you're just so overwhelmed with everything. And I just wanted to be so perfect in every little aspect, but then I just kept focusing on things that would just ease my mind a little bit more. And I think like I would focus on courses that made me happy versus the courses that I knew I had to catch up on to actually move on to my next grade. And it would just cause this bit of drawback, and I wouldn't fulfill my potential the way that I used to. And I used to really beat myself up about that for a very long time, feeling like I could have done so much better in high school if I had just applied myself. But in reality, the structure and the way that that place works doesn't always apply to everybody. And one place where someone thrives, somebody else may not thrive the way that we think that they should. So I don't know for you, Denise, if you could speak more to how your mental health took a toll, or if it didn't, and if you either it really fulfilled you or if it didn't fulfill you.
So interestingly enough, I actually feel like that time in my educational life did not have a negative impact for me in terms of my mental health, and it was actually fairly positive for me as an experience, despite going through being behind because I didn't catch up with my units, despite kind of having this a little bit of I had a bit of an identity crisis because in the Philippines I was very, very academically geared and very academically motivated. And then when I came here to Canada and I came to that individual learning school, it allowed me the opportunity to explore things like sports, which I was never into prior to coming to Canada. I really, really wasn't. And so on one hand, all of a sudden I was questioning why, oh my goodness, am I not smart? Am I not capable? I'm not going to graduate with honors. But at the same time, I became involved with a more diverse set of extracurricular activities that I never would have thought to do before. And so, in the long run, even though I did summer school, even though I kind of questioned my intelligence during that point of our lives, I still, looking back, appreciate the fact that it opened doors for me in terms of exploring other aspects of my life and finding balance outside of academia. And so for me, I think that was really, it was really a good experience overall. So what did you guys think? If you also went to an individual learning high school, did you have the same experience? Or if you're thinking of putting your kids through a school that has a similar model, we hope that this conversation was beneficial for you. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.